Hello everyone, welcome to GRAMOLY. GRAMOLY is a student-run non-profit organization promoting pure sciences. Today, me and Sainavaneet would be hosting the episode 2 of GRAMOLY's roundtables on careers in biology and bio-Olympiads.
I would like to introduce the guests for today's webinar. We have Ishan Gupta, who is currently an MBBS student at AIIMS Delhi and has attended the Biology OCSC. Ritabrata Chowdhury, who is currently doing his MPhil in Zoology at University of Cambridge and has qualified INBO. Anurag Chittawar, who is currently an undergrad student at IISc and has attended the Biology OCSC twice. Dhruv, Gupta and Sharwary M, who are both undergrad students at IISc and KVPY scholars.
First of all, as you all might know, there is this common stereotype that biology means we have to cram a lot. What was the thing which changed your perspective towards biology? That it is not a mere subject to just cram your way out. Ishan, you can start.
As I was already telling, so the thing is that what most people perceive biology to be is, and like what we are traditionally taught in schools as well, is that we have to cram up a lot of stuff and we have to gain a lot of knowledge in order to move ahead at something. I either apply whatever we have learned or maybe even do any sort of research. So basically, that kind of thing stems from the aspect that biology in itself is a very vast subject. So as I was telling that as like you get to know the words, you speak a sentence. For that, you should know the English alphabet. So there's per se no logic in the 26 letters of the English alphabet. You should know, and there's a definite order in which you should know the A to Z. So the A to Z of biology is vast, and like I have been giving biology Olympiads. Like I gave the first biology Olympiad in class 9, and then I realized that biology is a lot more to what I have already been taught in my school or whatever I have been doing. So that's where I decided that maybe I can pursue a career in this thing, and maybe biology is not about whatever we have been doing till now. And I decided to pursue that. I went ahead with that, and I was able to clear the Olympiads for the first time, both the first and second stages in class 12. And what I realized was what was lacking during my previous 2 years was that base of knowledge. So that knowledge base was not there with me, and which I was able to gain after that period because I had studied that so-called cramming or the basic stuff. So it is essential, it is an essential component, but biology is not that. Biology is much more than that. And the entire application, entire research in biological sciences, pure sciences, or biomedical research is all based on that knowledge. And it's because of those scientific minds who are able to apply, who are able to link stuff. It's not different from mathematics, and it is all integrated. So that's the thing.
So, Ritabrata, would you like to add anything?
Uh, Sorry. So my thing would be that I completely agree with Ishan what he said that you need a basic amount of knowledge. And for me, I was not particularly a very good student in my school. I'll accept that. And my entire passion for biology was mostly due to me watching a lot of National Geographic and Discovery Channel in my childhood, and which continued. And I'm very happy to say that I'm still doing stuff which I used to see. So I am more or less, I'm not into biomedical science. I'm into a very different field from, I guess, most people over here. That is, I work in the fields of ecology, evolution. So I'm one of those field workers, and I actually go out on the field. And so my entire interest was mostly due to my trips to certain bird sanctuaries, and I used to do a lot of birding and lots of insect collections during my childhood. And from that, it stemmed a little bit from my interest. But as the normal thing about all school education is that it is much more rote learning and it is a lot of heavy knowledge, and that was also applied to me. But slowly what happened is that at one point of time you understand that yes, there's a logic to this madness, and once you get the logic you understand that it's not that difficult also. And I would say if you are going for biology, if you're studying biology and if you want to go for Olympiads, or later say, because Olympiads is just a first stage and there's innumerable options for you if you just take basic biology. I only appeared for the Olympiad once, That too because I never knew about it. I'm really sorry. I was not a very I would say I was not a very informed guy. So I appeared for my Olympiad just once in my final year. And I did it mostly for the passion of biology and because I wanted to appear for an examination in India, which is different from others and different from other biological sciences examinations. And well, I really enjoyed it. And then I decided to pursue a career in biology. And I've been working and of course I've been working a bit in this field, and so I would say I'm a bit I have already finished my graduation. I'm currently in my post graduation right now. So I would say all it needs for biology is that you give it some time, you understand the logic behind it because there is a logic, and then just simply try to apply it on your own because everything that nature does is extremely logical and it is going to be the most efficient way of doing it. So just apply a bit of logic, and I think that should be more than enough for you to understand biology.
Great. So, Dhruv, want to add anything?
Sure. My interest in biology stemmed from this book, The Selfish Gene. It is written by this guy called Richard Dawkins. It's a brilliant journey through questions closest to us as living beings. The origin of life, the manifestation of complexity in behavior, the biological basis of it all. I love biology because these questions are closest to my heart. I mean, in biology does not make much sense to me. Like, biology is not some dusty old textbook with answers at the back. The annual research output of biology is more than every single other discipline combined. It's an active, messy field in need of brilliant young people daring to venture into the midst of chaos, of unending diversity, to kind of make sense of the greatest show on earth, life itself.
Absolutely. So, Sharwary, what about you? What are your opinions on this?
Actually, I was never from a biology background. I took engineering coaching for entrance exams, and I always thought, oh, okay, why are my friends preparing for NEET? Just looks just scary. How can they just memorize a lot of stuff? Like engineering is easy. I have to just apply mine. All this was there, but then I had taken biology for my 11th and 12th, and I thought, okay, there's actually something here, something interesting is going on, though I had to memorize. But then as I went through lockdown, and I always found my solace in watching wildlife documentaries, and I thought I may want to explore this field. I joined IISc, and then I was still confused between subjects, but I had taken this wonderful course from Rohini Balakrishnan in IISc on organismal biology. I then thought, okay, I can actually apply my interest in research, my love for wildlife ecology, I can do this. And I got into ecological sciences. And I'm interning in a lot of labs in ecological sciences. And I have to say, biology, initially you have to memorize. That is the basic requirement. But later, all you have to do is perseverance, troubleshooting. Just think of questions. Okay, why is this happening? Try to hypothesize, then experiment that. Okay, what is the basis for this? And you need to just have patience and a little bit of help from friends while you are memorizing stuff. But it's just the initial stage. Later, you will find something very interesting, and biology is amazing, and you will be happy that you had a career in biology. Yes.
All right. So, Anu, would you like to add anything as well?
So for me, it was sort of like Ishan. So I was a PCM. I was doing PCM, like JE coaching till like 10th grade. Then I just sat for NSEB because I thought it was an easy exam and I could pass it, which I did. So I was like, okay, this might be something worth pursuing. So it in that process, like going through Campbell, exploring more. And that is sort of how I developed a love for biology. About the cramming part, really, I've never really minded it. I've sort of enjoyed that aspect of it, to the contrary of many others. Really, I mean, like the knowing of facts, and then a lot of what it seems like very arbitrary in biology often just stems from the fact that all of it is so like contingent upon like very historical aspects, especially in things like anatomy, for example. A lot of it is just a guy opening up a dead body and just pointing at things and naming them arbitrarily. So a lot of that arbitrary character of it really gets unfolded once you like get to know like the historical aspects of it and like how like it developed, the science developed, and the sort of messy ways in which it developed over time. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's mainly it, I guess. A lot of it, like if you go on, if you keep it with it, right? If you keep with it, it is rewarding. There is like pockets of logic there somewhere. But yeah, it's fun.
Okay, thanks a lot. Next question is, why do you take biology as opposed to the options in PCM? Suppose this is especially relevant for Anu and Sharwary because you had a PCM background. And now that you are in biology, how much mathematics do you use on a day-to-day basis?
I will go first then. Yeah, so mostly, at least now, I even the professors, the teachers, they don't encourage memorizing much, but you have to do a little bit of memorizing. But then, even for when you are trying to do experiments, you have to use mathematics. Like, there is at least you have to use the formula of molarity to actually get the chemicals in that right concentration. So we use a lot of mathematics, but that is at least I have experience till now to actually design experiments, and it's logical reasoning. I would say logical reasoning than the application of some theoretical mathematics. But yeah, there are other things which use it a lot. Yes.
Thanks a lot. Anu, do you have anything to add?
About the using mathematics on a daily basis, I don't think I can answer that very well, considering I'm only just first year. So I haven't had a lot of experience like doing biology per se. But like on like choosing biology over PCM, so for me, my primary reasoning was just I could not do math like at all, not very good at it. So like I would like I like doing chemistry a lot, primarily again because of that sort of that style of like memorize. I mean, there's like an aspect of like sort of I don't know trivia when to it, like which I find very fun. So like I like chemistry and like biology just satisfied that itch a little bit more I'd say than the other subjects.
Thanks a
So
lot.
Ritabrata, would you like to add anything?
Hi. So the thing with me is that I not only apply mathematics in my daily life, I also apply physics in what I do. And so I work in biomechanics, which is technically the intersection between engineering sciences, biology, mathematics, and physics, especially mechanics. So the thing I would always suggest that, and I come from a PCMB background, so I've done all 4 subjects during my high school in my class 11th and 12th. So my thing with everybody who wants to pursue biology, I'm sure that because everybody else you're in undergraduate, I'm not sure how much you have faced mathematics, but we use a lot of statistics in our daily life, a huge amount. So if you are going to pursue biology, it's I would suggest that you actually learn a bit of statistics because it will help you. And statistics is like basically you use it as a tool for data analysis. As simple as that. You do an experiment, you get some data, and you have to analyze it. So how do you analyze? You use statistics. As simple as that. So statistics is a very, very integral part of not only biological research, but of every other research. Okay, or any other analysis. That's it. For analysis, you will need statistics. And secondly, knowing a bit of mathematics is always helpful because that what it helps is basically when you are, say, you are preparing a logical pipeline. That is, you are streamlining an entire thing. That yes, after this, we are going to go from A to B to C. So you helping with mathematics, you can actually make these processes much more efficient. And when you are going to apply it, you will see that having that logical background actually helps you a lot in determining what the effects of an experiment might be. So it's my suggestion is that if you are going for biology, try to learn a bit of statistics. If it is not in your course, a bit on your own. And a bit of basic mathematics, probably a bit of algebra will do. Probability, because that's what we use a lot. And in ecology, evolutionary biology, and I think in a lot of modeling studies, say when you're doing molecular study, because right now molecular study is not only extremely wet lab or experimental based, it's a lot of based on computational modeling. So for that, you will be needing a good base in probability. So I would suggest that study a bit of a bit of probability statistics is always encouraged. And secondly, what I would like to focus on is that try to also do a bit of coding, because at the end of the day, given the current age, a bit of coding is necessary, and it's just a logical algorithm. Because if you're applying real life coding, you would be getting the entire code on Google. That's fine, but knowing a bit of how the logic and the algorithm and how the entire environment works actually help. Like I use a software called R and a bit of Python every day. So, and I am a biologist and I am a research student right now. So I use it on an everyday basis. So I would always suggest that know a bit of computing, a bit of statistics, which always helps, and a bit of mathematics, not much. They might not be very useful for you right now because you don't apply it in any entrance examination. I think they might ask a bit of statistics and mathematics in INBO or probably in IBO, but just after this stage, you will find it extremely important for you if you're going for a degree in research.
Dhruv, maybe you can add anything to it.
I'd like to share a story. So, I am from a PCM background. I never was into apart from some reading, I was never really introduced to biology till end of maybe end of 12th grade. So that's when I appeared for the KVPY and mains exams. So what I joined, I got interested in biology as a result of a bet. What happened was when I was preparing for mains, another friend of mine from my coaching comes up to me and tells me, NEET is way harder than mains. I am like, okay, it's not. I can prove that to you. So this person tells me, there's this exam, KVPY coming up. If you can give it in biology, prove I'm wrong. Biology is way harder. I was like, since I was kind of done with my mains preparation, I was like, sure, I'll do that. I anyway wanted to take it had become kind of monotonous for me. So in the month of January, this happened in December. Essex was in Jan end. So in the month of January, I just opened NCERT textbooks for 11th and 12th grade and started reading through them. And my God, that completely, I became obsessed. The subject was so fascinating, and I guess once you read it in, since I went through a lot of syllabus very, very, very fast, so you start to see connections everywhere. It was not like people talked about cramming. I could only see patterns and connections underlying all of biology, especially if you are thorough with evolution and genetics. Biology starts to feel very intuitive and logical per se. As for how much mathematics is involved in biology, currently, for example, right now in my course, maybe not that much. But once you go to a level of a PhD scholar, there's as much biology as you can. There's as much mathematics in biology as you can handle. Biological systems are the most complex in the universe. So the mathematical models required to simulate them are they can't be computed by humans. That's why research in biology grew with computing. We require computers to handle all the data, to handle the structures required to model biological systems. So, and also there's this thing, people best at math usually end up in physics. If they were drawn into biology, probably the field can advance theoretically. Right now, it's more in the experimental, it's completely an experimental field. But if mathematicians and people who are good at mathematics are made to model biology, maybe the field can grow tremendously. We can have a unified basis theory of biology.
Right. So my next question would be to Anurag and Ritabrata specifically. So why did you take biology research over the more conventional options such as MBBS? So any specific experiences that you may have early exposure to research or non-medical aspects of bio?
Shall I start? Or Anurag, would you like to go?
Yeah, please go ahead. I think you
I think Anurag,
have a
you should
lot.
go.
I see. All right, sure thing. So for me, growing up, I had always been like, so that's primarily why I did not really consider MBBS. Also, yeah, and also like NEET prep just torturous, just not for me. It's just not. So yeah, that's the two big reasons why I didn't take like go for an MBBS and like when came here. Right.
Okay, shall I add? So about me, it's a bit contrary to the very good teacher who used to teach biology in one of the most fun and most logical manner. And for a class 6 and 7 students, that's amazing. That slowly developed in me. Just a second. So that for me like was kind of a catalyst. And then slowly when I reached higher like the higher classes, I started going a bit deep. I started reading, and of course, as Dhruv said, Richard Dawkins is also one of my most favorite authors. And you can always try reading some general science books, like not just popular science, and not any. You don't always have to read textbooks to know science. So, and after reading a few popular science books, I was like more hooked on to certain aspects of biology, especially things which I can see. For example, I work with insects, so and that has been a passion for mine. I have been collecting insects since a very long time, and so this slowly developed into that. And I knew that I wanted to take up biology research. I was not sure about which field, but I had a passion. And then slowly after my batch, uh, after my high school, after my class 12, I did my bachelor's. I did a simple BSc in zoology where I studied botany, zoology, and chemistry at Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi. And and during that time I did a lot of internships. I did a lot of side project work. I started doing a lot of like personal reading, like reading of research articles, reading of academic papers. And that has what like that simply shaped my perspective towards science. And right now then it helped me to choose a career for myself. So very simple. If you think that a very simple, I was not a very bright kid in my school. Very simple. I'll just be frank with everybody. But as I slowly started doing a bit of extra reading, just going out of the box, I would say, and trying to link everything up, I would say that helped me to get a perspective. And then slowly I started getting more, going much more deeper since my class 11th, I would say, since class 11th and 12th. And then during my undergraduate, I did a lot of work. And then I finally thought of applying for a research degree. I would simply say by that. But of course, I had a passion for being for in research. And secondly, I would like to add something which Dhruv said last time, that that biology would be helped by a lot of mathematicians and physicists come in, which is actually true. I would say this is true for any other field. It is the most amazing discoveries in science or any field is always made by somebody who has an experience from another field. If you know Jennifer Doudna, the 2020 Nobel Prize winner for CRISPR, one of the Nobel Prize winner for CRISPR, I think she was initially a physicist, and then she was a chemist, and she got the Nobel Prize in chemistry for using CRISPR, which is a very dominant molecular, I would say, a very dominant molecular biology technique in biology, like molecular biology, right? Sorry. So it's a very up-to-date technique which is used in almost all fields of biology as a tool. So I would always suggest that you study all the different subjects, and not only science, which is very interesting. Is it's not only science. Study a bit of sociology, a bit of history, a bit of political science, a bit of geography, because this is the all academia shapes into the field, and every science or every field is extremely interdisciplinary. For example, if you work in something called population genetics, like in human population genetics, or if you're looking at how the ancestry of humans have evolved, you will need history, you will need a lot of sociology, you will need a lot of linguistics. So it is very important that you consider all forms of education and not only science, because science is one field, but then there's all the different arts, humanities, and of course a bit of commerce also. It never hurts. So try keeping your, at least in your undergraduate, my suggestion will be keeping your base as broad as possible, so that, and do a lot of reading. Read, like I would always suggest that you read, and that is what develops a lot of your interests. And then once you have a good idea, then go for your field. And of course, another thing which many people will say, conventional, since MBBS is not the only option. I'm sorry if I'm offending Ishan over here. It's not like that. MBBS is one option, but then there are thousands of other options from there. So don't worry about it. I know everybody, most of you guys who are listening over here are school students, are in 11, 12, probably are appearing. And, and I, having finished my graduation, I can safely say that just if you put your mind into it, try looking for options. There are innumerable options. So don't worry about it.
Thanks a lot. I think the next question is almost flipping the first question on its head. To Ishan specifically, why did you take MBBS as opposed to a BSc?
Right. So, like, it's always that the human physiology and the human biological sciences, they interested me more. So, when I think back and I say that, okay, if I took pure sciences as an option, I couldn't see myself like doing something in like basically maybe in terms of botany or in terms of say outside the human physiology. So it was that human physiology. Like whenever I read about human physiology, whenever I read about the human body, it was always so fascinating that I wanted to do more about it. And each system, each particular organ, each every little thing about the human body is so fascinating that, like, obviously, if you think about it in the way that I think that okay, I'll become a physician and I'll treat people in a pre-designed way, in a sorted way. That's a very monotonous way of thinking about MBBS as a course. So then I read about what the various biomedical research options we have. So I was determined that I want to get into an institute where I can learn more about the human body and like maybe work more on how we can improve the various modalities in terms of maybe a physician point of view, okay, in terms of making better therapeutic options, in terms of maybe understanding the human body better so that like we can contribute to the like there's a very big thing that there's a separate Nobel Prize in medicine or physiology. So that was a very big factor that how important the human body is. Everything which stems from the human body is the ultimate contributor to the society. So that is why I was motivated that I'll enter into a field where I will not only study more. I knew that I will have to create a further knowledge base. As I told that during your 11th and 12th, you need to have a knowledge base of biology, and then you can apply stuff. So MBBS is basically a knowledge base of the human body. So maybe I won't be able to realize it now, but at a later stage when I have that knowledge base, I am sure that I'll be able to apply that kind of stuff which I wanted to always do. And that is when I feel that I'll be able to justify this decision. So that's it.
So I would like to know from Dhruv and Anurag, so how high school students can develop their interest in biology. In schools, biology is often a neglected subject and students don't get a chance to explore it further.
So I guess I'll go first. Maybe it's okay. All right. So like develop interest, right? Firstly, like Ritabrata said, just like read more and like not just don't like restrict yourself to popular science books. Like a lot of times people like, okay, I'll develop interest in the subject. So what they do is they watch Brain Games on Nat Geo, then they read a bunch of books on neuroscience. I know neuroscience. You really don't. So like you need to like sit down and like really do the hard work of say reading textbooks and then trying to inculcate the sort of knowledge that is being thrown at you and like sort of to like eventually like contextualize it better, right? Try reading research papers, try sort of like challenging yourself to read more and like read more in depth of whatever you want to read into. So yeah, that's primarily the one thing I'd say is read textbooks, read research papers, don't just restrict yourself to popular science, as fun as it is.
I have a slightly different perspective from Madhu. What I think is if you are starting, maybe start with Crash Course Biology by Hank Green. It's a really fun series. You can binge watch it in one go. It gets over fast and gives you a very good idea of what biology is and some basic principles underlying biology. If you're more interested, go to Khan Academy. Sal Khan has brilliant lectures on every single thing and every single level, from high school to MCAT preparation. He covers it all. If you want
Guys,
to know advanced biology, go to this platform called iBiology. It has lectures from various researchers about their groundbreaking research, and it deals with the frontier of biology. And if you're like really interested in some particular topics, maybe go for courses on EDX and Coursera. For example, say you're interested in neuroscience, do a medical neuroscience course on Coursera. They're free. You can actually get a degree at your place and learn a lot. That's my perspective.
Thanks a lot. Sharwary, do you have anything to add to the question, or do we move on to the next one?
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm sorry. Does Sharwari want to speak? I'm really sorry for.
No problem. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Fine. So another very interesting thing is, of course, like as Dhruv said, the courses are very important. Another one I would like to add is MIT OpenCourseWare, which is available on YouTube. So you can, of course, use MIT OpenCourseWare, like from the MIT, and it's a very useful source. I think you more or less get a lot of lectures from all other universities, I'm expecting. Another very basic thing which I found very interesting, and which was one of the methods in which I started learning biology or science as a whole, is asking questions. Is that you read something, the first thing that should come into mind, why is this happening? Or how is this happening? Or why should it happen like this? Like simple, if you have heard that Farhan Akhtar song, like Asma hai neela kyun, pani gila gila kyun? Simple, ask that question. It might seem the most silliest. It might seem that what is happening? Why am I? Like people will think that you are dumb. Never think so. Ask questions, because we all start in research. You have to ask questions. In science, you have to ask questions. If you want progress anywhere in the world, you have to ask questions. And all these questions are basic three things: how, what, and why. And I think the why part over here is the most important and also the most interesting. This, if you're reading, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Ask why. Then you should go how. Like the first question should be like, what is happening? That is mitochondria. How? And then the last question, why? Why is it mitochondria? Why is the nucleus not producing energy? And why is it mitochondria? Simple. Just ask these three questions and then try answering yourself. Or then look it up, because this is what stems a lot of interest. Because what I feel is strongly avoided in most coaching classes, and of course in a lot of schools, is that the questions which people speak, which children ask, they're suppressed, which is extremely wrong, because you are very curious when you are young, when you are like a 5-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid, you're thinking, why is this happening? Ask questions, like you have a lot of questions. And then slowly when you go through all these years of school, at the end of class 11 or 12, I see hardly 1 or 2 people asking questions, or they're thinking whether I should ask a question, or because I might feel dumb, like in the entire class, like the entire class might laugh at me. Let them laugh at you. It's a question. It's a pertinent question. What I think is actually really harmful is that the teacher saying that, no, why are you asking such a silly question? You're wasting my time. That is absolutely wrong. Ask questions. This is my message to each and everyone who's listening this. And even to all of you undergraduates also. I'm really sorry if I'm talking in a patronizing tone. It's like, ask questions, because that is when you'll actually understand get a good interest in it, because that is what gets you hooked. You ask questions, from that another questions develop, and then you go more and more, and then you just dive in. So this is for everything. Ask. Just simply ask questions, forget about it. Okay, this is my suggestion to everybody.
Thanks a lot, Sharwary. You had something to add, I believe, before Ritabrata spoke.
Yeah, so sometimes you might get intimidated by research papers and books, like if you're not initially from biology background or have some thoughts against it. So what got me into it was like completely YouTube videos, documentaries. Also, I had the opportunity to attend National Science Camp with Joshi in IISc. At that time, I got to interact with professors, which was totally different from interacting with my high school teachers. You could ask any question and they would get the research topic to your understanding level and make it fun. So what I would suggest is go attend the talks by professors or some academia people who have made it fun, and you get it. I actually thought about it. Yes, this was the right answer and I was right. Even the prof is saying this might be the conclusion too. Then you will gain confidence, and your this confidence will also boost your interest. At least that is what I did for my career here.
Thanks a lot. Now, another question for all of the biology research students. Sorry, Ishan. How does the way biology is taught in undergrad differ from how it's taught in the high school level? And is it more or is there less rote memorization when it comes to some topics?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say if you're looking at the syllabus wise, it's probably the entire biology which you are being taught is probably just an extension of high school biology in overall undergraduate, because fortunately are like all like I come from an ICSE background, and people in CBSE, like right now I think the ICSE and CBSE syllabus are more or less similar. They cover a lot of the topics. I would say they actually cover a lot of it, which is very helpful. But then for a high school student, it's actually a bit too much. I would say that. But when you come to your undergrad, you understand that it's just an extension of that. But you rather go more deeper into each topic rather than it being a much more more widespread. You rather go more deeper into each and every topic. And another thing which helps and which I think should, I was very lucky that I had good practical sessions in my class 11th and 12th. But in undergrad, you start doing a lot of practical. So it's basically like hands-on experience. So what you're reading in your textbook, you can see with your own eyes. You can do it with your own hands. So that helps a lot to supplement, or let's say complement all the knowledge which you have read. Like just reading a book, for me, I would say rather than reading only a book, it's better that you do something, you see with your own eyes, you look, you get your hands wet, like you literally just dive in, and that helps a lot. And I think what in undergraduate, what happens, it's in India, at least if you're doing a BSc like me, what I did in my university, we had a lot of practicals. We did a lot. Like I would say I spent more time preparing practical files and revising for my practicals than my theory. And that really helps, because that gives you a boost. Not only it gives you confidence boost, because it helps you to cover the gap between knowledge and theory and practicals. And secondly, given that, what happens is that also gives you an avenue to think of what you're doing, right? So, and another thing about undergrad teaching, which I would say is a very good thing about IISers and IISc, is that they start off with a very basic and very broad module. That is, you're taught physics, you're taught physics, biology, mathematics, like all different forms of science. And I think I'm not sure of IISc, I think in certain IISers they also have certain political sciences and sociology courses and psychology courses. So what happens, it gives you a base and it helps you to develop an interdisciplinary acumen, which is very important for science. It's not only to think of research in the forms of biology, if I'm a biologist, also to think from different angles and how it might impact society or impact the world. For example, if you're working on something say related to climate change or animal conservation, You just can't think of only the animals. You have to think of the habitat around it, the socio-political and geopolitical scenarios around that area. So it is very important that you have a good base. And this is, I think, this base is provided by most universities in India. Like most good universities, I'm expecting they'll be even that. And if they don't, I would say go a bit out of your comfort zone and read a bit on it. Just do normal reading, just search of the internet, and that helps a lot, I would say. And secondly, what another thing which does, I'm not sure about which university. I think in most IISs and IISc they have a thesis. They have a BS thesis, I think so. Do they have a BS thesis? I'm not sure. I know that they have a BS MS thesis, like they have a MS thesis at the
Yeah, we have a BS thesis, yes.
have a BS thesis, right? So in certain like central universities also they have this. I did a thesis on my own. So this thesis actually, when you do an undergrad thesis, or say you just do research work, or just, I would say a thesis, because most people are not very into research work in their undergraduate and they're still figuring out their area. So the thesis is for everybody. So in your thesis, we actually learn how you're going to do science, and all these 3 years of experience, or say 4 years of experience, will actually help you and culminate that entire I would say entire course for you, and it will help you. So the thesis is your first, like it's like your first step into actual research if you have not done any research internships or any other exposure before. So
Thanks a lot.
Next question would be to Anu and Ritabrata and Ishan as well. So to what degree has your participation in the Bio Olympiads affected your decision in pursuing biology, and has it had any effects on your degree? Are there any other biology Olympiads which you would recommend other than HBCSC? So Ishan, you can go first.
All right. So definitely the biology Olympiads have given me an exposure, right? And in terms of the practical application, when I visited the OCSC, it was my first real practical experience with biology. And that is actually an eye opener. And further, the kind of interaction you have with those 30-35 people and the kind of atmosphere it creates, it kind of opens your mind to a whole lot of opportunities, and like that's what has still continued. So like in my MBBS time also, I have given a lot of focus and to practicals, and like I have enjoyed the practicals, and the same kind of environment I have got in my practicals also. So like you discuss, why does this thing happen this way, and why do we have to operate this machine this way? Why do yeah. So why do the machines, different machines work in that way? So the how, why, and what has continued, and it is because of that spark which I received because I attempted the Olympiads. So that thought, that perception of biology was all because I attempted those questions. So both the theoretical aspect as well as of all these stages, first, second, even the theory which was given to us during the OCSC. So my interest in molecular biology, my interest in say genetics, it was all because I was exposed to these, and I still continued that. So I did some research in biochemistry, I did some research in epidemiology. So everything is because I got that exposure, and I still feel that all the biomedical research I'll do in future, everything in a scientist versus physician ratio I'll do, is because of these Olympiads. And as of India, like there are no better Olympiads than the HBCSC is offering as of now. So like they are the best what India can offer in terms of application for biology, in terms of true biology, which is required from biologists, from all scientists in the present day.
Anu, do you have anything to add about this question regarding Bio Olympiads?
Sure. So for like in terms of my interest in biology, like I said, it's primarily fundamentally shaped by participation in the Biology Olympiad program in the 2 years, 3 years that I participated. So what I'm interested in today, like what I things I like in biology more, so say like ecology and behavioral ecology, are things that I found out about through my readings in preparation for the Olympiad. So like I'd say I do a lot of what I am like pursuing in my degree here as well as all of that is very fundamentally shaped by participating in the Olympiad programs. In terms of other biology competitions, so not strictly an Olympiad, but there's a few fun competitions you can participate. So once you're in college, so IISr Pune has this very great competition. It's called Mimamsa. So it's not a biology competition, but there is like biology is a very significant part of it, and they are it's primarily like focuses on like having deep thought on like a little small amount of questions rather than say the kind of thing you're used to even in the Olympiads, right? I mean, even while they're very data oriented and whatnot, there's still a very significant amount of memorization involved. You still need to like mug through your NCRTs to get good marks in NSEB and whatnot. So a lot of that like goes away with, and secondly, like once you're in your undergrad, you're exposed to a lot more, so they can ask you a lot more advanced stuff and like expect a lot more from you, so the competition is a lot more fun. Then IISc, we have our fest. It's called Pravega. We usually conduct this biology competition. It's called the Bio Blitz. It's open to high school students as well. I think you can participate as a high school student and as a first year undergrad. And just to do a little bit of self promotion, so me and a bunch of my friends, we run this competition. It's called the International Biology Bowl. We're currently in our third round of like conducting this competition. So we've done it twice. So it's like an international competition. It's primarily bowl style. We have two stages. So it's a second stage is like more of a quiz, and first stage is that of like your traditional NSEB style papers. It's a lot of fun. Do check them out if you the time. They're not like as prestigious, nowhere close to being as prestigious or like whatever as the HBCSC ones, but you will have a lot of fun if you do decide to participate.
Thanks a lot. Ritabrata, do you want to add anything to this? Or
So in my opinion, the HBCSE one is, I guess, the official one in India. And I would say besides, and there might be a few others if you look around, but I will not suggest for that. And you can if you want. Secondly, what I would say, it's not only the Olympiads which will help you. Try participating in science fairs, in science camps. I think there's one by JB and STS. If you're from Kolkata side, it's usually from the West Bengal side. The JB and STS have their own examination. They have their own science camp. And so try going for the JB and STS one. Then all the different universities, like I think NCBS, like NCBS is an institution, National Center for Biological Sciences, which is in Bangalore. It's under TIFR, like Tata Institute of Fundamental Sciences. So I think TIFR, then there's NCBS, IISers, IISc, a lot of central universities, Jawaharlal Nehru University, like I think in Banaras University, my university, like my previous university, they also used to have, like all of them have open day sessions. They have sessions for high school students. So try attending them. And of course, and if possible, if you can look up, because I can't remember each and every name right now. There are a lot of science courses or like summer courses which are fully funded. You don't have to worry about that. There are a few fully funded summer courses which are available, like which are offered by universities all over the world. I know at the University of Cambridge, we have summer courses and you can get funding for it. Like it will be fully funded for you. You don't have to worry, like everything. So you can look it up. So, Cambridge has its own courses. Oxford runs its own courses. Harvard runs its own course. MIT, all the universities around the world, they run their own summer courses. And if you get selected, most probably it's going to be fully funded. So you can try going for them. And I think most don't have an application fee. If they have, I think you can ask them for a fee waiver. That is also fine. So I think it's more about just going a step ahead, go into Google, search up all these different competitions. And it's not only like, it's not like that. Yes, for me, the Olympiad did play a role in aggravating my interest, but I would not say it's the only thing which you should do to get your interest in biology or understanding research. It sounds a bit that, but because it is one of the only things you can apply to. But I would say try looking a bit, because I think there are millions of opportunities within India itself. And once you're done, when you think that you can, if you want, you can also look for opportunities abroad. And for undergraduate students, if you're interested in, like, I think you'll all be knowing this, and for also the other undergraduate students who are listening to this, is that there are a few science summer research fellowships all over India. Like the two most important, like I would say the most interesting ones, and which are also fully funded, are the Indian Academy of Sciences Summer Research Fellowship, which I think you can apply when if you're like in your second year in your BSc, and like it's basically in your penultimate year, you can do that. Penultimate, like till your penultimate year, like the Indian Academy of Sciences. And there's a Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, JNCSR Bangalore, which many people actually don't know about, is a JNCSR Research Fellowship, Summer Research Fellowship, and it's fully funded. You don't have to worry about everything. They cover everything of it. So you can apply to them. Just look up their websites. And I think right now a lot of IITs, like I think IIT Kanpur has a surge program. IIT Indore has its own program. They are all summer research fellowships. This is particularly for undergraduate students. So you can definitely apply for them. And then there are certain undergraduate research fellowships, summer research fellowships outside of India. I think one of the biggest ones is the MyTax Global Link. The MyTax Global Link project. I never applied for the abroad ones. I did most of my undergraduate research work in India. So there's the MyTax Global Link, and each and every university usually has. And another thing which I would also suggest every other student to do, if in case you think you're reading something and you don't understand something, try reaching out to your teachers. And as Sharwary once said, that speaking with the academics, speaking with professors, that actually helps a lot, because they are very different from your high school teachers, and they have a very different perspective on science. So if you wish, you can simply email out to them, or reach out to professors, simply not only to know the subject, just to gain a bit of insight on it. And that, for me, I had a senior, I would say a Didi of mine, who was doing a PhD in that time. And I used to ask her all the different questions to discuss with her. And she, coming from a research background, she was very instrumental in me developing a motivation for research. I never considered research as nor did I know. But when I interacted with her, I got to know, yes, research is interesting. You do it like this. And there is a way to doing everything, right? There has to be a procedure. I'm really sorry. There has to be a procedure. It has to be an organization. So I would say speak with academics. If you know a research scholar, you probably know a professor. If you know somebody who's into academia, who teaches, just go speak with them, discuss the topic. And I'm pretty sure that most academia people and most people would be very happy to have a chat with you about that. So don't worry. It's just a thing about acting up. As I said, asking questions, don't be afraid. Speak, approach. And that is what will get you going in one way or the other. I'm 100% sure about that.
Right.
Exactly. So here also it helps. Like I just ask my seniors or PhD scholars, and they are just very enthusiastic and help a lot.
So my next question would be, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So, like, there's one arena which you can explore. So, Olympiads is one thing in which you can attempt what you know. And in terms of reading, like I found this book called Campbell to be very useful in terms, like it's not giving us too much of extra information. Like you can get that from maybe basically the basic courses in biology, maybe the NCERT or whatever you read at the high school or senior secondary level. But the way it presents biology, so way it presents a particular topic, that is beautiful. So that actually opens up your interest, that actually motivates you to know more about the intricacies of each of the biological systems. So if you want to do something in biology, and if you have to decide whether or not to do, just pick up any topic and read from that book. So like read from any book, like there are a lot of specialist books, but I feel at the high school and senior secondary level, in terms of understanding, in terms of the appropriate knowledge, it's a very good book, because it will open your mind to biology in a perspective which is not dealt, especially in India. So That's one thing. And in terms of Olympiads, you asked, so I was exposed to this thing called the Vidyarthi Vigyan Manthan at my high school level. So you attempt a similar to an SEB type exam, and then there's a state level competition in which all the individuals who are selected, they go. And so there's a practical component to that also. And at high school level, I feel we are exposed to very less of practical. So that was, even before OCSC, that was a very good experience in terms of learning stuff. Although not very perfect, but in the Indian context, it was very good in terms of me learning more about the different sciences. So physics, chemistry, biology, me, and even mathematics, me learning more about all of this. I got from that. Like first exposure was that.
Right. So my next question would be to Ishan again. So how can people switch to research-oriented work after an MBBS or vice versa? How frequently do they do so?
So, all right, that's a very good question. And the thing is that MBBS per se traditionally prepares you to be a physician rather than a scientist, and it's very less likely that after doing an MBBS you'll enter into a scientist sort of this thing. But obviously there are institutions where you obviously you get promoted to do research, and that is where you can enter into the scientist arena. So there's this thing called a developing Indian physician scientists workshop, and it is held by an institute called the CSIR IGIB, Institute of Integrative Genomics and Biology. So it's something which is in a pure sciences aspect, and it is headed by one of our very old seniors. So he did he did MBBS from our institution, and then he went on to so the idea that a physician cannot be a scientist or vice versa. So me, the idea is not so functional in India, but it is there in other countries, that you dedicate your time slot to like treating patients or whatever, like being a physician on say 2-3 days a week, and rest of the days, like whenever I'm seeing a patient, it's something new. So you obviously you have to question the what, how, why. But the problem in India is that those who are physicians, they work 5, 6, 7 days a week, so they don't get to ask those questions. So the aim of that workshop was that how people who have been in traditional roles, what they did after MBBS, what kind of, did they do a PhD, did they do some other stuff, what did they do during their undergraduate course, which made them have an inclination towards research, towards being a scientist. And I feel that my institution and obviously some other good institutions which provide MBBS as well as provide a platform for biomedical research help us in doing that. So it's always that you need to express, as Ritabrata said, that you should always go and interact with professors. So they are open to suggestions, they're open to interacting on different topics. So you look up a professor's name and you study about the topic he or she is working on, and you read a few research papers, and then you can go and discuss. You write an email to them, you go and discuss what are your views, what are his or her views, and what are their views, and then you can always take up some research. And that's how biomedical research, or say research in any of the biological sciences stems. So I feel that can be done. Obviously it's still in a developing phase in India. And so again, I would like to do a bit of self promotion here too. Next month we are doing a scientific fest, so in that we'll be holding a research methodology workshop. So an undergraduate, especially a medical undergraduate, there's very little exposure as to what research is. So we need to promote that, so that the potential scientists who will be working in the biomedical research area, they get oriented to what research is. Because when you become post MBBS, whatever you pursue, you'll not be as free as you are at an undergraduate level. And the kind of open mind you have, maybe you'll not have at that stage. So it's the perfect time to do that, and we are trying to promote that. And let's see what the future holds for us.
Thanks a lot. Dhruv, I believe you wanted to add something to this.
Sure. So I had some doctors in my family, and what they told me was, after a point, like in hospitals, you get promotions. As a senior doctor, you get like the last promotions you get on basis of your research output. Every single senior doctor has to do a research project in their 40s or 50s, so that and the best of them, the person who does the most work is the one who finally becomes the head of department. So, as a practitioner, you would almost certainly be doing research in your very specific niche. For example, if you're a neurosurgeon, you would be doing some research about, say, the role of stem cells in the human brain. As a research scientist, though, it's the converse is not usually possible. I mean, if you are a research scientist, you can there's very little possibility of becoming a doctor. But even so, that's so in India. But if you get like a BS degree abroad, you can just give the MCAT exam and apply for medical school. So like not an MBBS degree. If you have a BS degree, you can be a research scientist for 4 years at this point, and then you can straight away apply for a medical degree. That's actually something I want to do. I want to apply as a neurosurgeon after my degree in the US.
Thanks a lot. Ritabrata, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the bit of it is that it's like, as Dhruv pointed out, that you can actually do a medical course after, and medical courses I think in most parts, like say in the UK and in the US, like in the UK, it's like a dual kind of a course. Like you can do it after your high school, or you can do it after your graduation. So if you're doing a BSc, or say 4-year BS by research, you can actually do a graduate course, a graduate medical course. I think you can even apply to US. Like you can apply to US, of course, and you can also apply to UK over here in UK, and you can pursue graduate courses. I would like to speak a bit of the other way around, that is going into biomedical research from BS. Like, and what I think I believe soon IISc would be starting the dual MD PhD program very soon. I think so. With the latest, I think they're going to start the MD PhD program, and MD PhD programs are something. Basically, you get a dual degree, you get an MD, and you also get a PhD. And for that, you don't exactly need MBBS. Like you don't need a medical background. Probably they will need biomedical based research, but you won't need medical background, at least if you're applying to the US. Unfortunately, this is not the prevalent case in India, which I hope with the new education policy it soon should catch up. And I think there would be a few institutions who would be like offering graduate medical courses, and like actually it becomes a bit of a question of whether you want to whether you want to do research, or whether you want to do like applied biomedicine, that is basically you're acting as a physician, right? So, and research takes a long time. As simple as that. Research will take a huge amount of time. So that is one thing, because this is also, I think this is a problem with most professors also, is that they are so involved in administration and so involved with teaching, is that they don't have time to do research, which I've seen the problem with many professors. So if you are going the other way around, like going from a BS to a medical degree, I think the MD PhD program in US, UK is an option. I think soon a lot of Indian universities might start. IISc is one of them who would be starting, I think, from a couple of different years, like in a few years. And besides, I think AIIMS has a few MSc courses. AIIMS has a few MSc courses, very specific MSc courses, if I'm not wrong. AIIMS has a few MSc courses, which is you won't probably, you might, and you can do a PhD at AIIMS. So it's not going to exactly be like you are going to work as a physician, but of course you can work and impact the society as strongly with your research as probably with a physician. So don't think that like MBBS, the thing is that some people pursue MBBS thinking that it's a better job option, which probably is. in one point. But of course, getting into MBBS, people might think it's just my reach for everybody, is that just thinking that if you don't get into do IISc, or you don't do IIT, or you don't get an MBBS seat, that means you're worthless, that you can't do anything. That is absolutely not the case. You're just starting right now. As simple as that. You don't know what to do. And it's all the societal pressure and the peer pressure which you're thinking, which you're dealing with. It's not that. Give yourself time. If you do a BSc, if you do a good BSc or a BA or probably a BCom, and then you can shift your field. It's possible. It's just that you need to put in a bit of an extra effort for that. So personally, I never thought I'll be in Cambridge right now. Okay, I never thought. I just started out. I never knew what my future was going to be. I just started out doing research. I liked it, and I put in a bit of passion. And then I thought, yes, why not? And then I approached my professor. I was doing a research project when I met my current supervisor. And then we had a chat, and then he invited me that, why don't you come and do? So like, I'm doing an MPhil right now. I'll be starting with a PhD next year over here only. So don't think so much that it's like, if I don't get into this, no, my life is destroyed. What will people think? No, it's fine. There are innumerable opportunities from everywhere. And don't think that we'll fall down. No. You can do research, you can do good work at anywhere in the world. All it needs is your willpower and a bit of your willingness. That's it. And if you think monetarily, yes, I know that like having a steady income is very important for a lot. Like I understand that that's due to financial problems. I understand that. But the thing is that don't think that if you're doing a BSc, you won't land a job. It's not like that. There are opportunities. You can go ahead. Probably it will take 1 year extra, and you will definitely land a job. I know my friends from BSc got placed. Probably you just need to do an MSc probably, then you get placed. I know there are there are good good recruiters like IBM. Even I think I know that certain in like some of the Navratna companies, like for example ONGC, IOCL, SAIL, they all recruit from all different universities over India. So if you're thinking of thinking that pursuing science will not be a very good financial option, it's not like that. And you can change. And another thing is that if you go into biology, you can only do biology. No, you can change your field after every point in your life. It's just that you need probably a bit of more motivation. I know that people around you will be telling you, no, don't do that. Why are you doing that? It's not the norm. Don't think of that. If you are willing, if you are passionate about it, if you think that this is going to work, go for it. Like take the calculated risk. And I'm pretty sure in most of the cases it works out. Sometimes it might not. So don't worry. There are other options.
Thanks a lot. Next question is for Anu and Sharwary, and Ishan will have to provide some inputs as well. What are the similarities between the syllabus of MBBS and B.Sc Biology in terms of the depth and breadth of the topics? And what are the differences, if any, in how the common subjects are taught?
To be frank, I don't know what is taught in MBBS. I will just tell about the courses taught in IISc. For the first 3 semesters, you are taught basic topics of different fields in biology. So, like microbiology, cell biology, ecology, and genetics. You are just and neuroscience. You are just taught a lot of basics in the topics. Just an introduction. You are encouraged to read research papers as a reference, optional reference. Later, if you choose major in biology, you can, and it's totally independent. You can choose any course from any department. You can even if you're not that into biology, you can choose interdisciplinary fields like biomechanics or the bioengineering courses. You can choose them. So. Yeah, I'm not sure how it is related to MBBS, but you can, the depth will go higher in your senior years of your undergrad. But in the first few years, it's just the basic topics and an introduction to the research in the area.
I suppose you two could discuss a bit so you can figure out the common subjects. Ishan, do you have any inputs based on what you heard?
So in MBBS, what I would say, so in MBBS we have 9 semesters, in the first 2 semesters, we have the like it's called the pre-medical in terms of its anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. And for the next 3 semesters, we study 4 subjects which are considered to be paramedical courses. And then the final year, we have 12 subjects, which are basically the clinical, in which you have the direct doctor-patient interaction. So as far as biology is concerned, it is what we study at the senior secondary level. Say cell biology, etc. They have a bit connection to the biochemistry. All the molecular stuff which we study at the senior secondary level, there's a bit of connection to biochemistry. And the entire human physiology which we study at the senior secondary level, that has a lot of relevance to the physiology which we study in MBBS. And per se, after the second semester, like second year onwards, the medical science mostly diverges from whatever we have studied in at the senior secondary level, and it builds basically on what we have studied in the first 2 semesters. So now we start studying about the problems which could crop up in the normal anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. So it diverges from what we have studied at senior secondary level, and it becomes less and less linked. So that's what happens.
Okay, so here also we are taught physiology, fundamentals of medicine, basic anatomy courses, and if you are more interested in it, you can go into biochemistry side or molecular reproduction and developmental genetics side of it. Yeah, but there is no applicative side like a clinical side of it, but the basic theory and the research side of it is taught.
Before giving the mic to Ritabrata once more, if I understand correctly, would you say that B.Sc Biology is more about understanding how the body works, and the MBBS side would be more about treating what would happen if something went wrong with the body?
Like we do give some time to learning the normal functioning of the human body, because without knowing that, you can't build on what's wrong. So that's there, but obviously it's limited to the initial part of MBBS. So a large part obviously goes into what, so how this works as per the current knowledge level of the science. You know how this particular thing works, and then you find out that at what steps this can go wrong and how it can go wrong and how you can deal with all of that. So that's because it's a very big bubble arising out of a single step which goes wrong. So we end up spending a much longer time in that. That's the thing.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so we had a course here and we were taught about the symptoms, what tests you have to take if for the diagnosis, and what medicines and the biochemistry of the medicines is given.
Ritabrata, would you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, so the thing about my course, which I did in BSc, I think it was very, very similar to what the pre-medical course in MBBS would be, because it's basically like we understand how it works, and they also have to know how it works to apply it, right? You can't just apply it without knowing how the body works. So it's like our thing would not only be how it was, like, for example, we were taught genetics, we were taught a lot of human physiology, and overall, like, probably our thing would be like we are doing more like vertebrate physiology or overall animal physiology rather than only being taught human physiology. Like, probably the details will differ a bit, but the overall scheme would be the same. So we were taught we were taught animal physiology, which also includes human physiology. I think we had a very strong immunology department, so we actually learned a lot of immunology, a lot of epidemiology, a lot of reproductive biology, because that's another, like, one of the research aspects which my department was very interested in. Then we did, I would say we did a lot of I wouldn't say we did a lot of clinical studies. Direct applied clinical studies was not much, which is something I think which is not that much pursued in BSc. If you're doing, like, for me, I would do a BSc zoology course, but probably if you do a BSc biomedical sciences or probably biotechnology or probably not, I wouldn't say bioengineering, but definitely if you're doing a BSc biomedical sciences, probably, or BSc molecular biology science, BSc molecular biology. So in those terms, I think you will get a more of a clinical approach rather than for me, because I was also taught a lot of lot of ecology, diversity, taxonomy, which is a very basic thing for a zoologist, right? But if you're doing a very like a specific BSc course, it will vary a bit. But I think more or less the pre-medical, what is taught in the pre-medical courses, that would be very similar to what the BSc is taught. And then after that, after a BSc, if you think you want to go more into these subjects, then you can simply do an MSc in that, right? The masters in a it's basically like you do a broad-based bachelor's, which gives you how everything works, or say how the body works, or how the entire animal world kingdom functions. Then go for a more specialized MSc. That's always a better idea, because you will have the very broad base. Or like, for example, I think in IISers and IISc you can do like an integrated BSMS. So it's like you're being taught the entire thing over 5 years. Like for an MBBS, it's like, I think your teaching component is also, I think, 5 years, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so it's 4.5 years for the
4.5 years, yes, right. Yeah. So you will need that amount of time to get specialized in a certain subject or certain field. So I think it's just about which approach you want to take to dealing with science. That is most important. It's like the approach of a physician and the approach of a scientist or researcher is a bit different, but of course it's extremely interconnected. So
I would like to know from all of you, like, what is the average day like as an MBBS student, and how does that compare to one in IISc and Cambridge as research students?
All right. So if I say, like I am now in third year, so we have the clinical phase going on. So if I talk about my day, we have lectures before our clinical postings and after our clinical postings. Clinical postings are usually from 10 to 1, right? So during this time, I'll have another lecture, which is at 4 p.m. I have another lecture, and coincidentally we got this thing off because it's a half day, but sometimes we get a schedule so that like you have a lectures, you can attend it online or whatever as per the faculty's convenience. And in clinical postings, like I had ophthalmology going on, so we have a very big center, like a dedicated center, perhaps the largest in South Asia, for the ophthalmic sciences, the RPC. And it's a very big building, separate building just for ophthalmology. So you get to explore in the different days, you get to explore the different ways the ophthalmology department functions in terms of different surgeries, different procedures, and minor, major, everything in terms of the different specializations of the faculties. You get to interact with them, you get to see patients. So that's the purpose of the entire 3-4 hour interaction which you do daily. And yeah,
That's great. Would any of the IISc students like to add their experiences?
I guess I could talk for like the first 3 semesters. So for the first 3 semesters, you're not actually spending a lot of your time doing biology. So like I mean, this is not very characteristic of most like traditional BSc programs outside IIScs and IISers. But for us, it's mostly just where most of our time is spent like doing the other subjects. There's a lot more of that. So yeah, so we have around like 7 hours of classes. The course load is quite high in the first 3 semesters, and yeah, so the course load is quite high. You have like around 4 hours of theory classes and then 3 hours of lab every day, like 4 days, and that's sort of how it works for us for the first 3 semesters at least. Most of our time is again spent in like doing physics, chem, math, humanities, and whatnot.
So yeah, after your 3 semesters, in the fourth semester and subsequent semester, we get to choose what kind of courses you want to take and how many credits you want to take per semester. So if you want your last year of PG, like thesis just for research, then you complete it quick and it will be hectic. So basically, it's mostly theory courses, and you get to choose the laboratory courses you want, except the core courses, which you have to do compulsorily.
Dhruv, anything you'd like to add to this?
Nothing, Anu covered all of it. For example, in my first semester, I spent most of my time doing math. I basically spent a couple of weekends for biology. That's because the workload for other subjects is just so high. So, yeah.
Okay, and Ritabrata, how do your experiences in Cambridge differ from those in your bachelor's?
Very much, because currently I'm a full-time research student. So even though I am technically a master's student, it's a 1 year full research MPhil. So I'm working it's like basically a mini PhD. And then I start with the PhD next year. So I'm a full-time research student right now. During my BSc, in my university, we had like around 4 to 6 hours of classes every day, and like it would like partially like it was equally divided between theoretical and practical courses. Of course, during the first 4 semesters, because I had botany and chemistry as my other, like it was almost like a triple majors in the first two with equal weightage, triple majors in my first 2 years, and then only zoology in my last year. So I spent most of my time doing chemistry and botany rather than zoology in my first 2 years. And well, I didn't enjoy that much because, of course, and I personally have a very dreadful experience and very dreadful relationship with chemistry. So it just doesn't like me. So, and I also don't like it. So as simple as, so I used to spend most of my time doing chemistry and botany. But then for zoology, it was, I guess the extent, like it was almost similar like that, 4 to 6 hours of classes, like 5 days a week. And we used to have a good amount of practicals though. We had a good amount of practicals. And also we had to start doing up, like we had one. And during my final year, I remember like for 2 semesters, each semester, like in my final semester, I had a thesis, like which you are like allocated 1 day per week that you work on your thesis in the lab. And on other days, we had 1 day for field studies. So we basically, our work was to collect, at that point of time, we were doing data collection of different insect and different organisms like all over the campus. So it was kind of a field study. So it gives you a bit of perspective of how field work might happen. But it's like it's 1 day for that. And then we had 1 day for thesis during my final year. And right now in Cambridge, as I'm a full-time research student, I don't exactly have any coursework. So I am like fully devoted into research. So my work would be like an average day for me would like go in at around 10 a.m. around like today is a Saturday. So we are off. Like Saturdays and Sundays are off. So on weekdays, we are like, I go in at 10, I do a bit of reading, then I start with experiments and like it goes on because in research, because when you are in starting research, it is a bit more flexible, I would say. It depends on what you want to do. Like I have to plan my own experiments. I have to schedule them accordingly. Like I don't exactly have any exams right now. I just have deadlines for reports, I would say, and then for my final thesis and for my viva or like for my thesis defense. So it's more or less, it's a bit relaxed because you can time it out, but then it might happen that I'm working late till 9 o'clock, till 10 o'clock. That also happens. So I think, and during my undergrad, I also did research along with it. Like I was involved in a few research projects, like, and I used to work in my university. So like usually after class, I would be off to the lab and work there for around 3 or 4 hours, if possible, whenever I didn't have a lot of course load, a lot of workload. And so that's more or less sums up my experience. And here in Cambridge, I would say it's like, of course, like people might say that it's extremely good. It's just that I think we have better resources over here, which as compared to what I faced in BHU probably is that I have a bit more resources, but resources I probably have better training facilities over here where I can get myself trained. But besides, I think research is same everywhere in the world. Like it just takes your head to think. And of course, like that's it.
I think you'll have to answer the next question. Regarding pursuing research after research in biology, besides academia, what are the other avenues that one can pursue?
I think there are like usually there's this term that it's either academia or industry. So in industry is basically like you work as a researcher for multinational companies, for different research organizations. Like in India, I think the biggest one is CSIR, like which is the central. Sorry, I'm not currently sure of the full name, which is CSIR, and then you have the Department of Biotechnology, like Department of DBT, Department of Biotechnology, and so they have their own research centers, and you can work as a scientist over there. Then academia basically means that you are also pursuing that you're also teaching along with teaching in universities along with doing some form of research. So like doing research. So academia is absolutely one option. The other one is going for research institutes, like certain government or probably private. And then you can work as an R&D officer, or probably like simply as an R&D officer in all multinational companies. I think every company in the world needs researchers, because without that, you can't develop products. So you can of course do that. And of course, after a researcher, I don't think it's absolutely necessary that you have to go into academia. If you want, you can start up you can have your own startup. You can do something else. I know one person I know from here in Cambridge who was a researcher, who did his PhD, and then he established his own company, and they deal like they have millions of people. I think there's also in India also. I think they have very like all good universities have their own incubators, startup incubators, and so I know a lot of people who have started scientific startups. So one of them, if you want to look at, is InStem. I think InStem and the group in InStem, I think they have their own incubator, and they actually support a lot of good scientific startups, and even the government of India is currently promoting. So of course you can do that. Then you can work for these startups if you want. So and then if you want, you can just go for a corporate job or an admin job if you want. So it's the same. Like if you go, it's just taking a different stream, and like it all meets together. It's like the different doors to a same hall. It's something like that.
Yeah, I would like to add, you can also work in science communications and
Yes,
write
I forgot that.
articles.
One more thing, in India, I believe there's large popularity for microbiology. So, how to go about doing microbiology as a career or as a degree?
Should I take it, or
Sorry?
should I take it?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Dhruv, probably. Anyway.
Sure. So, since the advent of synthetic biology, there's been this huge upsurge in potential jobs as a microbiologist. One can go work with firms making biofuels, biomaterials, biocomputers. You also have these people making startups, coming up with ways to make these small recombinant bacteria model neural networks and work and like use them for AI development. So yeah, like apart from the traditional option of doing pharma and as a biologist going for something like vaccine development, there's a ton of new exciting jobs available as a biologist.
Thanks a lot. Ritabrata, I think you're going to add something.
No, I think that more or less covers most of it. I think so. And there are lots of options. I think the best that you just give it a Google search, as simple as that. And for courses in microbiology, you might think that whether we should go for a direct BSc in microbiology or going for MSc microbiology, or probably go with bio. I know a lot of people doing biotechnology or biomedical engineering for a BSc. It goes the same. You can, if you are very interested in that subject, you can go for it. You can just go directly into a BSc microbiology, or you can go from a zoology or biomedical sciences background and then go for it. Another thing which we also are very interested in looking at is we also do a lot of microbiome research in relation to ecology and conservation, because they are also a very important part in the entire conservation cycle. Like the microbiome, if you have read about it, the microbiome which exists in our body and on our body, or in the body and on the body of all organisms, they are actually very important in the functioning of all organisms, and of course that links to their ecology and then their conservation. So we also do a lot of microbial conservation, like a lot of conservation based work on the microbiology of different organisms. So that is another thing you can think of. So I think if you go for, like, there are even posts for microbiologists in like IUCN, in WWF, like World Wildlife Fund, then Greenpeace, and even I think I think there are a lot of, I think there are a lot of such conservation or such such conservation or like similar like NGOs where you can work for. So that is another thing. And of course, another thing is that right now microbiology is also booming, like along with biotechnology, due to the thing of astrobiology, if you might have heard of, like astrobiology. So people are using a lot of microbiology, biotechnology, bioengineering for astrobiology, because that is one field which is slowly starting to open up, which people might not have heard for the last 10 years, but slowly starting to open up. And of course, given the advent of technology and with the resources which are coming in, especially, there's a lot of funding being put into that area. So that is another option you might see, which I'm not very sure whether in India how many places do that. I think there are a few places. I'm not very sure. I think ISRO has a few. ISRO has, DRDO has some. DRDO has some departments which do work in them, and I think there's one center in Manipal University. But just and there, I think the main part of microbiology is like astrobiology is mostly based in USA and also a bit in UK and Europe. So you can search that out because that is another field. So I guess Dhruv wants to add something. So
Yeah, so I would like to add something like that's related to this thing. As humans, one of our like the biggest challenging we are facing yet is climate change. The key word in solving climate change is sustainability. I feel that any non-biological solution is unsustainable. Sure, solar panels are awesome, but like after 10 years of use, they end up in landfills anyway, don't they? Life is the only thing that sustains itself. Um, that's like that's one of the reasons I'm so interested in biology. I feel the answer to like solving the challenges of climate change lies in producing biological solutions to all the problems you're facing today.
absolutely, I definitely agree with Dhruv on this. And I think what we can actually do, I would suggest Ramul, if you guys are up for it, we can actually have a discussion on climate change and all the
Yes,
related
yes,
hot topics, and that would
that
actually
would be
help.
awesome.
That would be awesome. And I
Sure, we
can
would
see
love to do.
everyone over here. We
Yeah,
can add
in
something on
fact, yeah, in fact, I'm doing a term project on soil microbiome. So I'm trying to
Exactly.
redefine if herbicides or glucose water have an effect on soil respiration and whether they can act as a source of sink for
That's cool.
CO2 efflux.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. And like, I guess we can all like share a bit of our research and say how it's affecting the world. And actually, this will help all the students to know what exactly we are doing, because having an idea as this is the exam. No, I think you need some practicals. You
Right,
need to
Definitely,
understand what
definitely.
is happening.
right, yeah.
And so you guys will be more like, I guess the audience and everybody who's listening to us will be more hooked on, because if we share our experiences more,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next question would be to Anurag. What are some of the options available if anyone wants to combine biology with other fields of study? Like, for example, biophysics, biochemistry, computational biology, or biomedical engineering?
I'd say somebody like Sharwary or Ritabrata would be able to better answer this, considering they're in, say, Sharwary is in like an advanced stage of their UG and Ritabrata has done their UG
Sure,
more
yeah.
than I have.
So Sharwari, maybe you can take it first.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So like, what are some of the other options available if anyone wants to combine biology with some other fields of study like computational biology,
Yeah,
biochemistry,
sure.
biophysics? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So there is bioinformatics, and you can scientific computing big yeah supercomputer datas and using biology or just as statistical analysis. Or there is bioengineering where you are doing tissue culture or tissue engineering and organ regeneration kind of techniques. And there is biomechanics, and where you just study about, I think Ritabrata can explain more on biomechanics. And then the bio and engineering part, there is a lot of interdisciplinary field going on. I'm sorry, I'm just more into ecology that I kind of neglect. I should reflect on it. Yes.
Thank you very much. As Sharwari actually covered most of the topics, like these are all topics, right?
I think every science and every research which happens, it is interdisciplinary. You can't exactly have one field of research. You can't compare, you can't exactly isolate biology from that. Like, as I said, if I'm doing an experiment, I'm going to need statistics. I'm going to need mathematics to analyze my data. So it's very simple. So it's like every science you do is interdisciplinary, and it's almost like a pyramid. Like, you probably have mathematics at the base, then it then goes physics, then chemistry, and probably physics and chemistry together, in my opinion, and then you have biology, because biology is probably the most complex science to understand. Exactly, and that's the reason people think that it's more rote learning, because the logic is not very well defined. As simple as that. It's a very, very complex, and humans can't even go close to nature when we are trying to solve this. I think nature made it in this manner because humans know you are just a species, remain on Earth, don't try doing so much. Okay? Else something like COVID will happen. So in my perspective, like, I personally work with biomechanics of insect. So I work in insect plant interaction. So I technically look at the physical forces. Like, I have looked on forces on how ants use their mandible to tear up food. So I go into these mechanical forces to understand how it works. And this actually, and from my field, like from biomechanics, we have an immediate applied effect, which is biomimetics, which is we try to make engineering, like we try to make structures or like have engineering applications based on these biological systems, or like they're like biology inspired, nature inspired solutions as such. So that is one, it's a very booming field, and it's not well studied because, well, as it's known, like it's a very interdisciplinary field. So you need to know a lot of other things. I have to, like, probably I'm studying more physics right now than biology. And so that is one aspect. Then if you go into ecology itself is a very interdisciplinary field. You can't have ecology without evolutionary biology. You can't have ecology without mathematics, statistics. You do actually, and for studying evolution and ecology, you need to do more statistics and more mathematical applications than actual biology and fieldwork. Like the fieldwork part is probably the easier work in case of most biologists. So, and then when you go into bioengineering, that's one, just combine both. Like, you use bioengineering, probably like for me biomechanics is basically one subset, but I look at more ecology, like I am more ecology based rather than I do more work on like applying it for direct ecology rather than doing engineering application. But we do have, like, though my research group does work in applications, then we have another offset of biomechanics, which is mechanobiology, which is to understand the physical forces between at the molecular level, that is between cells and between tissues. So that's another very interesting, like how the blood flows. I think in IISc there are a few. I think they have a very good biomechanics and biomechanics department in IISc. I have worked over there actually. I've worked over there. I've worked with Professor Namrata Gundia in mechanical engineering department, and so and then if you are going to other fields, for example, astrobiology, of course, it's the culmination of everything, and then you have Elon Musk. So, and then after that we have what can I say? There's for me, like, and I can like think of every example, and that has an interdisciplinary aspect. Molecular biology, it's totally that, because, and you're going to need bioinformatics, of course, as Sharwary said. That these are the gross topics which you can think of, but if you go into research, it's going to be interdisciplinary. That's it. So my suggestion for everybody who thinks of taking up research is that do everything, do all science, because you're scientists. You're not a biologist or zoologist first, you're a scientist first, right? So think of science. And then, of course, another thing which we are not taught in our undergraduate or in our school, which I think is also very important, is history of science and the philosophy of science. Because we don't get a degree we get a master's in science, but we don't get we get a PhD, right? We don't directly get a doctorate in science. We get a doctorate in philosophy, right? So at the end, it all goes down to the culmination of like, why and how is this happening? It's like asking the questions. So studying a bit of philosophy will also help. So it's like, you can't exactly like narrow down science to one thing, which most people say. It's biology, no. Absolutely. Physics, no, it's not different. It's all combined. And this time when you start linking one thing to the other, as everybody was telling, that we got interested while we were doing physics, then we thought biology, and we tried to apply physics in biology. True. That's how everything works. And that's how nature should work, right? Like in nature, when you're looking at an insect, say, unfortunately, I don't have an insect with me. I usually have insects with me in my room. So if you're looking at a plant, right? If you're looking at a plant, it's not only the biology, there's chemistry going on, there's biochemistry going on, there's a lot of physics going on, because see, for that, like it tries to maximize its surface area, right, to get the most amount of sunlight in the entire condition. So there's a lot of mathematics going on, and then you have a lot of, say, then you have geography going on, then you have like it's endless, actually, it's endless, if you can say. So science as a whole is extremely endless. So I would say, and as you are just starting and you are all in a very young stage, it's my suggestion is try keeping it simple, try thinking, and try like integrating everything together. Like this is called lateral thinking, I think. So that's the term for it, lateral thinking. Try to connect the dots. When you're studying organic chemistry, you're thinking, wow, this is water. You're using the same organic chemistry when you're studying, say, the TCA cycle or the mitochondrial cycle. It's the same thing. And then you apply the physics to it. For example, one of the main things I would say is why another one thing which shows, like, why can't an elephant fly? That's one big question or hypothesis. Why can't an elephant fly? There is a huge amount of physics behind it, right? If you know about it, like just not going with a hypothetical situation. It's like, if you think from a practical situation, it's like there's a condition of surface area to volume ratio. There's a thing about center of mass. So, and it's a biological question, right? Why can't elephants fly? If you want, we can make them fly. But why does nature does not want them to fly? Simple as that. So all science, in my respect, is extremely interdisciplinary. It's basically like starting from one. It's like starting from one angle and then going to the others. As simple as that.
And the best part is this interconnection. It's not one way. Like people often think like physics explains biology. Biology also explains physics. For today itself, I came across this thesis which talked about application of neuroscience to electromagnetism, not the other way around. It was application of principles of neuroscience to electromagnetism. And a couple of months back, I was reading this thesis on quantum evolution. So it was about explaining quantum mechanics on basis of principle of evolution. It was a fascinating paper, and like it's not a one-way arrow. It's all fields are so interconnected. All science is truly one.
Yeah, I would like to add that there are more physicists, mathematicians, and programmers in biology labs. For example, theoretical and mathematical ecology, you can find more physicists and mathematicians working to model on fish population, neuroscience people working on data analysis. So it's just very interrelated.
Thanks a lot. The answers regarding how you can apply biology to physics, I think that was a new perspective. I've never heard about that before. I think to Sharwary, Ritabrata, and Ishan, I feel like they'd be the best equipped to answer this question. How can students go about pursuing a biological research project, either in the high school or undergrad? And for pre-college research programs, which would be better? A pre-college research program like, say, RSI or SSP, or would cold mailing professors be a better option?
Okay. As an undergrad, first I learned working from PhD scholars or the seniors. You work for them and learn the procedures and basic research methods or hypothesis thinking, like on how they pursue. And you try to come up with your own questions, try to propose an independent project to the professor and start working on it. This is how it usually goes.
Sharwari, are you done?
Yes.
Oh, great. So yes, as Sharwari said, it's exactly the same. I started out myself by just simply asking professors, going around asking professors that can I just look at it, take a look at it, understand what's going on. I just want to learn. Tell them, and usually people are very enthusiastic about it, because in most universities, like I'm not from an IISc or I'm not from an IISc, which is not predominantly like a form of a science college, right? I'm from a central university, and over there people are like not that much into research. They're mostly there. So if I go and approach a professor, and if they see a willing student, they're always happy to help. So, and then slowly what happens is that you start doing that, and as you can propose a project, and you can do an independent project if you want. Like I did 2 independent projects in my BSc. So, and if you can arrange your time, you just need to think well, I would say, to do a research project. So, and if I would give the basics, I would say go start looking, like first do a bit of reading, try to see which aspects of it help. It's not that you're going to pursue that later on. It's nothing like that. What you start off with basically is to develop your interest, see how it works, go to a few labs, ask them that, like, it will take you some effort from your side probably. So you just go, you look, you want to see, this is how a PCR works, like a polymerase chain reaction works. This is how a gel electrophoresis works. This is how you do a behavioral experiment. This is how you run a data set in a, say, you're doing an evolutionary phylogenetic tree. So you learn from the very basics. You start from the very basics. You are technically, if you think you're just starting. So you should be open to everything, and you should not ever think that, like, yes, I know everything. I think like you might know of the Dunning-Kruger effect, if I'm pretty sure, the Dunning-Kruger effect of how it works, and you think you know everything down and then go, let it happen with you, because that is very important. That is one very important thing about your how you are going to develop your own research. You have to, the first thing which comes, firstly, initially you won't be able to think, and slowly you start thinking, you start asking questions, and slowly you come into you start preparing something which it's like, it's a question. It might not be, you might not get it in the first try. There will be setbacks, but it's the most important thing is to just start, initiate, and then that's going to take you somewhere. And for a more practical reasoning, I would say try going, if you're in Central University. I think if you're in IISers and IISc, you can also do that. I'm not sure. You can go for the Indian Academy as a research fellow, summer fellowships. Go for JNC as a summer research. And for these, you do not need previous research experience. They do not judge you on the basis of previous research experience. As simple as that. You don't need to know the knowledge to apply. No, these programs are there for the fact that they want you to learn. They expect that you know nothing. So you just need to do, the only thing they want is that whether you can think or not. So rather than, like, of course, rather than thinking that don't have a project, what will I do? I have never done research before. No problem. You can do what you're doing right now. You can do it right now in your home. You just think about what you're doing. What are the questions that can be developed? And from there, all research begins. As simple as that. And later on, if you want, like, even like, I think it's not very prevalent in India, but you can speak to professors and like cold mailing, or like, and if you don't get, just simply start mailing professors. If you mail 100, probably it's on average, from my perspective experience, like if you mail 100, probably 20 will reply, and from them 2 will be a yes. So as simple as that. Do not lose hope. This is absolutely normal. If you think, no, I mailed 10 professors, all of them rejected me, they didn't reply even. It happens. It absolutely happens. Try mailing professors from universities abroad. Try mailing in India. Try mailing anybody who might be able to help. You never know how it all clicks. So for me, my research, I never thought of coming. I just simply emailed my current supervisor that, yeah, I'm working on this project. It goes, and like, wow, I like your project. Let's discuss. And from there, he's like, come, why don't you join me as a graduate student? As simple as that. It all starts. If you start, you see that you will get into the process. You'll have, another thing which might be is that there's a lot of people telling you that you shouldn't be doing this, you won't be able to do this. This is a lot of things which will happen and which will demotivate you. I know that, because you will see that your peers are not doing that. They're probably enjoying, they're having the best time of their life. Okay, they're enjoying their college. Of course, they're having but you're the one who's stuck in a lab. You're thinking, why am I doing this? Will this ever deal with something? Just think of that, why you started that. You did that because you're passionate about it. You did that because you wanted to know something. That's the curiosity. And that's what makes you a bit different from others, probably. That is what you should like. If you are not interested in, then don't go into this, because research without interest is going to be very boring. It's not like a normal corporate job which you can continue, because in research, you're dealing with new questions. So if you're passionate about it, you should be, then go into it and don't worry about it. Whatever people say, at least I know, I have faced myself in India. In my university, people were like, what are they doing? They would be basically thinking, wow, where are they going? They will be like, they will intimidate it. They will probably, they'll like give you galis. It's fine. It depends on where you come from. Just even if whatever people say, it's like, it's your motivation that should matter for you. Don't forget about people. Most people are not going to understand your research anyway, right? Those are not in academia. Those are not related to your field. What matters is how you develop yourself for what you want to do, like for your place. It's like that. It's not a competition. Research, many people think it's a competition. It's not a competition. It's more about collaborating together, right? At this point of time, if we start competition, if we have a competition, as you know from ecology, very simple. If you have a competition, the resource goes down for both species, right? As simple as that. You need mutualism right now. You need mutualism, as simple as that. So I would say start growing, speak with different researchers, start preparing, start reading. It will take a bit of a, like, I would say, a kickstart. I would say needs a bit of a kickstart. If starting from slow, just go. Like in high school also, you'll see nobody is reading research papers. Everybody is just mugging up a textbook. No, it's okay. You are not they, and you are not the same. You have to remember that every person is different. So if you're doing that, it's what you want to do, right? Don't think of what others are doing. And also another thing is not something to be very like show. Another thing which I've seen is, I'm sorry if I offend somebody like this, I'm really sorry, but I've seen there are a lot of people who just bring big books into school or into college, like, oh, I'm reading this. Yeah, I know a lot. But at the end, do they really know a lot? You don't know. You question yourself. That's it. You are the best judge over here. You question yourself when you read something. Yeah, like as I said, mitochondria is power of the cell. Why? And how does it work? Will it ever work if I put this thing into a nucleus? Feel free. And another thing I would like to suggest, I think we all would be putting our email IDs, and you can always contact me at any point of time, wherever you want. Just give me an email. Whether it's the most silliest questions, I'm here for you guys. So don't worry about it. And I guess the others can also help you if it works for you guys. I think it's important that we can guide a few people.
Definitely.
I think science is not as big as a misery that people think of.
Yeah.
Yes, Abhishek said we'll put the emails in a separate Google form later on.
We can set up a Google form just to contact, as we won't be able to put up direct email IDs in the description. So we can set up a contact Google form.
Yeah. Also, Ishan, since you're doing research from MBBS, how does that work specifically?
All right. So, like how my research, this thing started. So it was some lecture which was ongoing, and then what happened was that you start to question in the lecture itself. You start to question if there's some lacuna in the knowledge, right? So there's a flow, there's a particular flow, and obviously we don't know everything. So you see a lacuna in the knowledge, and then you read up about that. So I read about that, and then there was this opportunity. Like there's the ICMR, and which puts out a program for like interested undergraduates in the medical field who are interested in doing a short-term project. So it's the ICMR STS program. So I enrolled for that, and like in that, the very big thing is that you start from scratch. So you contact a professor and you start from scratch. You discuss with him on whatever topic you want to work on. So you explore a lacuna, you develop a research question, you develop what particular topic you want to work on, how would you like to work on that, you develop a research proposal, you submit that, then you get the ethical clearance, then you work on the project, and then you submit a project report. So ICMR STS gave me a starting platform for like going through the entire research methodology. Because it was a short-term project, it was not something which an undergraduate cannot do. Also, because it involved all the steps, I got to know about how we can go through with everything. So if in an MBBS, if in an undergraduate course in the medical field in India, if someone wants to do research in future or even in MBBS itself, I feel STS is a very good starting platform. Just because you are exposed to the appropriate way in which you have to approach this thing. So you STS ensures that you don't skip a step. What happens is that like people, they'll join some faculty who's already doing something in a particular field. You'll do the scut work, you'll do the data collection, but you'll not know the essence of the research. So as an undergraduate, getting to know that essence and getting to know all these steps, so that happened from the ICMR STS project. And rest, like I feel that any of the clinical research you want to do, any of the like lab work you want to do, will depend on your interest. So it is entirely on you. You want to approach a biochemistry faculty and you can work on the molecular aspect, you can work on the lab. Like I have a batchmate, two of my batchmates, they were working with a faculty in biochemistry, and they had the keys of that lab. So over time, like they used to go, and they used to even go at 12 a.m. and do the stuff there. So from that up till going to the OPD, going to the ward, talking to the patients, any kind of data collection, any kind of interaction, any kind of procedure and any kind of clinical research. So it's entire, there's a huge spectrum of stuff you can do. And like people here at AIIMS are very open to research. And so that kind of atmosphere is still in the developing phase. Most of the undergraduates are not very enthusiastic about research as per now. Like they're more into academics and maybe the practical and the clinical posting stuff. But we have a scientific society. It was founded by one of our seniors in the 15 batch, 2015 batch. And like it has, within these 7-8 years, it has actually advanced up to this level that we have gathered enough manpower that we are able to host a conference. Like this is the first medico-scientific UG conference, which will be held in mid-April next year, next month. And like that is how like a small initiative can turn up to these things. So we are having paper presentations, we'll be having medical quizzes, and there's lots of stuff. We're having lots of workshops, basic life support, advanced cardiac life support workshops, suturing skills, and like there's a micro suturing facility available with the neurosurgery department. So there are lots of things you can work on. And it's like there's a collaborative IIT and IIMS project in which like we are developing, and like not exactly me, but there are people developing an algorithm so as to like there are micro sutures in the vessels in the brain in which you have to work on. So they are working as for an algorithm which judges how accurately the suture has been worked. So there's a whole variety of stuff you can
do. Thanks a lot for the answer. I think Dhruv and Anurag, you're still in your first years, right? First or second years? Do you have any experience regarding research or any idea on how to conduct research in your early years of undergrad?
So we don't. Anu can go first.
Face my battery is at 4%. I might cut out in the middle of this, but yeah. So for me, in my first semester, I did a project under a professor here in the molecular reproduction developmental genetics department. So my project was on the philosophy of science project rather than it being like a science. It's primarily a reading project. So how I got the project was I simply cold emailed the professor with my interests, and then we basically had like meetings. We met up and then we talked about it, and then our sort of interests matched. So I did the project under him. So yeah, that was that. So yeah, it becomes a lot simpler. Things like cold emailing professors and all becomes a lot simpler, say, once you join an institute, once you're into an institute, because once you have that institute email ID, it's a lot more easy again for a professor. You can go meet professors firstly within the institute itself, and even outside institutes, you're much less likely to get like be put in the spam filters and like be ignored. So that becomes a lot easier in my experience doing it before, like in 11th and 12th, and doing it now. So that became a lot easier. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks a lot. Dhruv, before you leave, do you have anything else to add?
I guess Anu's covered most of it. Same for me. I had a ecology project under a professor. So I had written a hypothesis on modeling the behavior of ants. So she and I are conducting, like, she sends me some papers to read every week. I modify my hypothesis based on that. That's been continuing for a couple of months now. And I guess I'll do a field project as soon as I'm allowed to. And then I've applied for this really interesting research opportunity in this hospital where I have proposed a hypothesis about the hypothalamus being the center for PCOD disorder, and they're allowing me to go to the surgery rooms and collect data for it, and like build my own experiment and validate my hypothesis. So I guess like these are the kind of research opportunities available to first years. That's that.
Lastly, one common myth in biology that you all want to debunk. So Ishan, you can go first.
All right. So, like something which we started on, perhaps that the thought that biology should be done by people who are not good in maths, or like that's the common perception at the high school level. And like those who are good at cramming, those who are weak at physics, they should approach biology. They should like pursue biology as a like they should pursue a career in biology. That notion, like we will, at least till our time in the upcoming 5 years, we will sufficiently disprove that. So, and that is an attempt, like that's an ongoing attempt. We have to put in efforts year by year, so that that notion that like maths is not involved in biology, there are no applications in biology. There's a huge amount of research going on in biology, and it's integrated with all fields. Even if I am doing biomedical research as of now, if I don't know the basic biostatistics, if I don't know the whatever I have learned in physics up till now, it is because of my exposure to Olympiads, to KVPY, I am able to better do the stuff, whatever I'm doing. Even if I'm a physician, even if I'm pursuing medicine as a core subject, linking the different signs and symptoms the patient presents with, linking them to what I have already studied, all of this has a logical flow. And all of this is application of what I will study in these 4.5, 5.5 years. So all of this is linked. You can't say that physics or mathematics is exclusive of biology. You can't say that because you can't apply stuff, you can't link stuff, and you just have to cram stuff, you should pursue biology. You'll not be a successful either physician or a physician scientist or a scientist if you don't have those capabilities. So that's what we should discuss.
All right. So now, as we are running out of time, we can come to the audience questions directly. So maybe Sainavaneet can ask the first question.
Yeah, at the time of recording, I think there's less than 24 hours to the IOQB. So from the people who participated in the Bio Olympiads, any last minute tips you'd like to give the viewers?
So I would say, first of all, just go through all the past year papers. Fuck. Who's that?
Yeah, Ishan, you can go ahead. I think Anu's facing some difficulties right now.
So, in terms of Biology Olympiad, very good pointing noted that you should solve the previous year papers. Like for INBO, I specifically just solved 2 papers the previous day, and like that you get a flow of the thing. So you have to attempt a 300 marks exam in a 2-3 hour way, and there's a particular pattern of questions. So you'll get MCQ single correct, you'll get true false, you'll get the other numerical pattern of questions, and there's a thought process, right? So that's what I feel, that if you solve the previous year papers, you'll be able to understand that. And same goes for biology. And the thing that like there's something different, like I have not read Campbell, maybe I'll not be able to do the Olympiads. I have read only NCERT. That's completely false. So the same base, knowledge base is like required for any of the entrance exams, any of the, you can say, board exams, and even for the like Olympiads. What differs is how you think. So from that knowledge base, are you able to link stuff up and go to that level of thought which the examiner has asked you? So NSEB starts at that level. So it starts, it gives you a basic this thing about can you think 1.2 times, like something higher than what is normally taught. Does your brain go up to that level? INBO tests you higher, and it all just goes up higher. And when you reach up to OCSC, maybe at the international level, you have more of practical stuff coming. So that's, you get a separate, like 2 of my batchmates, they are IBO silver medalists, and so what they did was they had a previous practical experience in OCSC, and they persisted, because OCSC usually happens after the entrance exams, so most of us are usually exhausted. So they persisted during the OCSC period. That's why they got selected. So that's that.
Right. So what are the prerequisites for pursuing a career in biology? Are there any institutions in India to pursue astrobiology? Anyone can answer.
Should I answer? Or so, in my respect, I think astrobiology is just like a very specific field of biology. So you can start off from any good biology course, probably a BSc in zoology, probably an integrated BSMS at IISer, or say you can do. I think one of the better courses you can also apply to St. Xavier's Calcutta, because St. Xavier's Calcutta, I know they have a few members in the, like they have some people who are actively working in astrobiology. So St. Xavier's Kolkata is one of the options for, like, they have two degrees. I think they have a BSc microbiology and a BSMS integrated BSMS integrated, BSc MSc integrated biotechnology. So it's good enough. So you can start with the biotechnology course. Like personally, I would say always start with a much broader, like zoology course probably, or overall biological sciences, and then go forward. Astrobiology currently, I think Manipal has some, but Manipal University has some opportunities, and I think there's a blue space program, something like that. This you guys can look it up. And then for astrobiology, then I think, and like overall, there's no course exactly for astrobiology because it's a much advanced subject. So probably you can start doing research in that field when you think you are a bit ready. That was what my suggestion would be, because it just starts off as biology and then you go into a very specific field. There's one thing I actually forgot to mention in when we were talking about the different types of interdisciplinary course. There's something called systems biology, and University of Hyderabad it's actually one of the only places in India which provides a specific course on systems biology. That is, it's an integrated BSMS course, like it's a 5 years integrated BSc MSc course in systems biology, and University of Hyderabad. And they have a very good faculty, so you can definitely try for that if you're interested. And systems biology is basically you're using basically it's in broadly, I would say it's mathematical biology. So you do a lot of programming, you do a lot of logic gates. I think it's basically how you can apply mathematics and logic to biological systems. So that is one field if you're interested in. So, and besides, I think others can give a short. I think probably Sharwary or Dhruv.
I think Dhruv's battery ran out as well. One common question here is, as a PCM student, how should you prepare biology for the KVPY exam? Sharwari, I think you're muted.
I think I can answer that. So I wrote my KVPY essay and SX in biology. I only studied NCERT textbook and I think a bit of online resources. Later, in the later stages, I studied Campbell. So yeah, I'm proud to say that I got into KVPY through biology, though I took engineering entrance exams. So yeah.
Another note about Campbell. Most people hail it as the book for Biology Olympiads. Is there anything you have to supplement to that, or is Campbell more than enough?
I'll add to this. So there's another book there are two other books which you can actually see besides Campbell. First is Raven Biology. If you search it, it's a very common book. You can find it on LibGen, you can download it. Another one which most people don't know, but it's practically like a textbook for all of us in biology. And it was starting with BSc, and it's a more generalized book. And that I think I found a lot of help for that, because I didn't study Campbell. I'm really sorry. I studied that other book, and we use it daily life. I use it over here also. It's called Life Science of Biology. Life Science of Biology. Sorry, I just put this up. It's by David Sadava and Purvis. It's called Life Science of Biology.
We'll add it in a resource page later. It's fine.
So it's called, the book is called Life Science of Biology or something. Yes, it's called Life, the Science of Biology by Purvis and Sadava. So that's another book which you can use. Another one is Raven. And Raven has two different books, actually. Raven, one is a Raven Complete, something similar to Campbell. And there's a Raven on plants. So if you ever want to study a bit more on plant physiology, you can actually try the Raven on plants. And besides that, I think NCERT is good. NCERT is like the holy grail of everything in India, I would say.
Thanks a lot for the insight. I don't think many people have heard about the second book that you mentioned, so that'll definitely be helpful for those people.
So I guess this brings us towards the end of our roundtable discussion. Again, I would like to thank all the guests for coming and enlightening us with great insight. Thank you. Bye.